Hey, and welcome to Map 9 for Doom 2 here, The Pit. You may notice the texture on the floor there is slightly different. That's because this is the beta of this level, and this level by and large is pretty much complete. So what you're going to be seeing in this beta playthrough is mostly just misaligned textures like that door there, as well as a few textures that won't make the final cut but will be replaced. So The Pit for me is one of those levels that I don't particularly love. There's quite a few things I don't like about it, but we'll talk about those as we kind of make our way through the level here. There's quite a few things that rub me the wrong way in this level, and it's never been a particular favourite of mine. But it is interesting to see the beta level here. So this was, like I said in previous videos, this was about 6 months out from the game's final retail release. So you can see that the level itself is pretty one-to-one with what we'd expect to see in the PC version upon release. I'm not a fan of this. I think this is a feature of this level, the pit, where these elevators go down and up, and it just takes so much time to navigate around this area. It's just something I don't like doing. Also, you'll notice the pain elementals here aren't shooting out lost souls. So for this level, I've actually set this to vanilla compatibility, and as you can see, because there's already, I think it's 21 lost souls, someone can comment if it's not 21 lost souls, in the level already, they can't fire in any more lost souls, so the pain elementals effectively become useless until you start killing off the lost souls in the levels. This is a weird trap for me. This feels more like it should have been on the previous level, Tricks and Traps. If you walk over that line dev there, it actually raises up the roof, but if you do what I did and sort of walk off to the side, you can actually go over, collect all the ammo you need, and kind of position yourself better to deal with all these chain gunners. This feels more like a Tricks and Traps room to me than it does a actual part of a normal level. It doesn't feel like the kind of trap you'd see, and it's completely optional as well. The only reason you go in there is because you want the rocket launcher. But as you saw in that room, there's a few textures that were different from what you'd see in the final game, and there was a few textures down there as well. That's the main thing with this level, like the texture work hasn't been fully completed. Although if you look at in the middle here, you'll notice that all the textures have not been fixed in place. So when that goes up and down, the textures kind of move with it, which makes it very visually interesting. I always find this bit to be probably the most entertaining part of this level because it's very chaotic, it's very enclosed, this area, and you've got a load of mancubus and enemies in the middle and cacodemons. There's a nice mix of enemies here, all challenging you, and if you are silly enough to go into that toxic pit down there, you can actually get stuck down there if you don't run immediately for the middle, so you got to be a bit careful. So we'll take down this mancubus with the single shotgun here. As you can see, this area is still here, so the texture work in here is very different. It's not brick or ash like in the normal version. It's actually kind of more reminiscent of Doom 1 texture work, which makes sense because a lot of these Doom 1 textures were used as placeholders. There is still a BFG in here, which we like very much. This BFG is actually pretty useful if you don't grab the BFG on Tricks and Traps. There's a lot to be said for the close quarter combat in this area. It's quite good, it's quite fun. Like I said, this is probably my favourite area of this level because there's a lot of challenge here, and I think there's 2 more imps there in the normal retail version, but so you can see now those pain elementals. Oh, forgot about you. Yeah, so that mancubus there is there to catch you out if you're like not paying attention, as it nearly did to me there. But you can see the pain elementals have started to spawn lost souls again, and that's because we've been killing lost souls in the levels, the smart play would be not to go for the rocket launcher, because there's a lot of lost souls in that area, and not killing them means you don't have to deal with pain elementals. But it's an interesting limitation of the original Doom engine. And as I said, I'm playing this on vanilla compatibility, so this is recreating that experience. I think one thing I don't like about this level is that there's just a lot of waiting around at points. So there's a lot of lifts, there's a lot of moments where you've got to stop and wait for the lifts to come down and then go back up, and then you'll do that several times in several areas. In particular this bit here. Now I don't know if the super shotgun is in the lower difficulties on the Doom 2 retail release, but it's certainly not there on Ultraviolence on Doom 2. So the super shotgun makes this part a lot easier because we can take out these lost souls pretty easily. There's nothing too exciting about the lost souls here. I always liked this room as a kid, but as growing up and realising that this room is just kind of a big massive time sink that doesn't actually add much to your kind of experience. That's another thing I don't like about this level. A lot of the level is very much optional areas like this, and they're interesting, don't get me wrong, but the flow of the level means that most players will probably never come in here. And once you've experienced them once, there's no real reason to come back out here unless you really, really want the cell ammo by the teleporter at the end here. There's a few rooms like this in this level where you don't need to come in, and they're probably more interesting than the actual main part of the level itself. So I don't know, maybe they could have found a better way to work this, but this is the beta level, so this was obviously always the intent. Maybe they could have put different coloured doors there and make it so you had to go into that room. I don't know, like I said, the flow of this level just feels a bit off to me at points, and thank you very much, Lost Souls. I would leave the Lost Souls alive, but they can open the doors, and they can sort of sneak in and come into this central area if you're not careful, so it's kind of... I really don't want to do that. I'm just going to use the BFG here to get rid of these guys. When there's a load of Lost Souls like that, I just like to blast the BFG. Going to take that down. See, this is another room where, like, you've got to hit switches to wait around for the things to come down and go back up, and you've got to do it several times to get through the puzzle. And you know, it's not that inventive. It's just not that fun. We have also just hit that timer, so the door up here opens for us. As mentioned, I'm not a huge fan of this level. This is one of those levels where I will take the shortest route to get through as much as I can, as quickly as I can. I also don't like this final room here. I just think that, you know, it's just a bunch... It's just... I don't really like it. Like, I don't know why. It's very hard to explain and articulate why this room in particular is just annoying to me. But if you ever watch me play this on stream, or you ever watch me do like a run of this, I will literally always just run on the outside of the room and hit the exit. I won't even deal with these enemies. You can see there's a lot of enemies here. So let's take care of these imps here. Smack, smack, smack. So we've pretty much run out of ammo here. I'm sure there's a few shotguns that we've left lying around, but it kind of shows you how tight the ammo is on this level, that we kind of ended up in that spot in the first place. As mentioned, this was the beta version of the pit, and I don't think it's a bad level, don't get me wrong, I just don't like it. I can understand that they wanted to play around with elevators, they wanted to play with the concept of like pits and all that stuff, but for me, this is a level that I always kind of jump through as quickly as possible, and this is the retail version of the level, and as you'll see as we play through, there really isn't that much different here, bar a few texture changes, and a few item placements have been moved around. So that plasma rifle at the end, I think that's gone. We don't get a super shotgun on ultraviolence here, as we did in the beta version of this level. But I do like how they make you fight for your shotgun ammo at the start of the level here. Like, if you don't want to fight all these shotgunners, you've got to turn around and go up the other pit entrances. So, you know, they really want you to work for that shotgun ammo at the start here. There's also a lot of enemies when you think about it. These imps here, while not dangerous, along with the shotgunners, they can prove a bit of a nightmare for new players. You'll notice the brown sludge there. That is the proper way this level looks. At least that's how it looks in the final retail version. So in this playthrough here, I'm actually playing on boom settings, so we'll be seeing a lot of lost souls spawned into the level, because generally that's how I generally play Doom 2 levels, but I wanted to show off the vanilla compatibility restrictions. And you can see how if these guys had been allowed to shoot lost souls, the beta level probably would have been even harder, but because you can see here how many lost souls are poking around already. That's quite a lot. Shoot you in the face. So we're going to head in here to the rocket launcher. So it's the same deal as we saw before. There's nothing really added here. The only major difference is the textures where the rocket launcher chamber is have changed ever so slightly, and you'll see that in a second. You can see it's more base aesthetic here. So I'm going to shoot there and shoot there. So you see, if you run right over that line dev there, it actually makes it a lot more difficult in my opinion, because you've got your back turned to these chain gunners, you haven't been able to grab the rocket ammo. This is, like I said in the beta version of this level, this room kind of doesn't feel like it belongs in this level. It actually feels like it belongs in Tricks and Traps. But that's just my opinion. It feels like a trap that's a bit more tongue-in-cheek and a bit more silly than, you know, your normal trap. Because there's a lot of chain gunners there. A lot of chain gunners, and the Lost Souls, they really will wear down newcomers, especially if they're not expecting it. And even when you expect it, it's still a bit of a nightmare. So you can see here they've actually fixed the issue here, so all the textures actually stick now. I kind of liked watching the textures kind of slide up and down. It was a bit unrealistic, yes, but kind of visually it was interesting. I try to encourage as much infighting as I can here, but sometimes it's a bit hard to get the cacodemons to shoot where you need them to trigger infighting. There we go. Just want to make sure we get rid of the barons. So again, you don't want to get stuck in that brown sludge there. If you get stuck in that when everything's raised up, you will get trapped, because that's just how that's designed. I'm speaking from past experience there. But this room's very much the same. A bunch of lost souls. You can kind of understand how they hit the ceiling on that lost soul limit when there's just so many lost souls in the level to begin with. The main reason you come in here is for the BFG and the cell ammo. The cell ammo is really valuable, and you want to make sure you're grabbing as much of it as you can. So there's 4 imps here, so Unless I'm mistaken, they've added 2 in from the beta. Because there was only 2 here in that beta version of the level. Make sure we get in here. Oh, did I forget about this guy again? I always forget about this Mancubus. I don't know why. Like, this Mancubus is like, it's actually really well done, that, and it's one of like the better parts of this level where like that Mancubus will catch players out who are engaged in that fighting there. So what I'm doing here, I'm just going to get rid of this Hell Knight as quickly as I can. So get rid of all these imps here. Normally I wouldn't take this long in this room. I'd probably just leave these imps walking around, but I kind of want to show off that, like, the way you're meant to do this. Also the fact you got to walk on that blue light on the floor there to raise up the stairs, that's an interesting choice, because I suspect many players wouldn't do that naturally unless like they get really stuck here. So you can see there's no super shotgun there. There's still only 2 pain elementals here. Want to get rid of Lost Soul there. I don't like Lost Souls wandering around behind me. They do cause a lot of damage if you don't take care of them. So again, we're back in this room here. It hasn't changed at all, apart from the texture. I think the floor texture here is a bit different, and they use green toxic sludge instead of the lava red sludge. But otherwise, it's functionally the same puzzle. This. I said, when I was a kid, I thought this room was super cool. But once you've played this level like a bajillion times, you kind of don't find yourself coming in here that often. At least I don't. Your mileage on this puzzle and other puzzles like this really depends on how much you kind of like platforming in Doom, in my opinion. If you kind of like the platforming aspects of Doom, I think as well, this is one of those levels where I think if you took out some of these rooms like this, the level wouldn't be lesser for it. I think that it being here is interesting, but I would never really guide players to come this way unless they really needed the ammo. Because there's just a lot happening here. There's a lot of enemies who are here trying to, you know, have their way with you. And I don't know, I'm not a fan of like rooms like this. We'll grab all the goodies here, and then we'll head into the yellow room chamber. So we'll just take down that imp there. I don't want to leave anyone behind. So again, this room hasn't really changed all that much. It was actually kind of hard to tell in the beta level if that Lost Soul was there or not, just because all the pain elementals were already on us as we came through the door. I think this is one of the first levels that really throws a whole heap of enemies at the player. This is because the last level there was the Baron room and there was a few pinkies in front of the BFG, but I think this is probably the first proper level that isn't like a semi-joke level where players are kind of forced to use a lot of ammo to get rid of enemies. So for example here, all these pinkies are coming here, and I don't really have the ammo to deal with them, so I need to make use of the Berserk pack here. But this level's a bit stingy on ammo, like, and you'll see that when we get towards the end of this level. Like, I've done this from pistol start, and we'll pretty much end up with next to no ammo leaving the level. Especially if we want to get 100% kills. So we're gonna head out of this level here. I'm really not going to bother with that final room, just because if you look at my ammo count here, we're going to end up punching things very quickly, and I really don't fancy Luckily, you can just run through here. There's no plasma rifle here, so they took that away. But as you can see, we've made it to the end of the level. The enemies all sort of come in towards you there. It's very hard for me to put my finger on why I don't like the pit. I think there's just a lot of small things that kind of add up to me just not enjoying the level overall. I think there are much stronger levels to come. I think some of the levels we've already played are much tighter and better than this. I think that, like, this is one of those levels that I just feel that this level could have done with some trimming down, or they could have found a better way to make use of all those rooms, so there could have been more appropriate logic, because there's a lot of rooms in this level where you don't even need to go near and you're only really going for the ammo. So I don't know, it's not one of my favourite levels. In fact, it's probably in the bottom half of my levels in Doom 2. But of course, we're going to take a look at the PS1 version here, and you can immediately see the difference. The pit is a lot smaller. So this is a recurring theme with Doom 2 levels in particular. They don't like having very vertically high levels, and where possible they tend to sort of trim them down, or the levels just disappear entirely. And up to now with the PS1 levels, they haven't really skipped any, but as we start heading into the city levels and into the hell levels, you'll start seeing some of the levels just don't make it across at all. I do like that in this version, though, it doesn't actually take as long to get around, so while taking away the height of the level is, you know, a negative, it does mean you get around quicker, so it kind of works in the favour for me anyway. As you can see, same thing here, they've just added a cold lighting in. They've also brought the floor out there, so the floor that connects to the open area that I was talking about earlier, it actually is more prominent in this version. I think that's because they didn't want players who've never played the PC version to get stuck there wondering how the hell they're meant to get across. You can also see they've gotten rid of the pain elementals there, so we're only seeing cacodemons now on this level, which again, it's one of those things where the PS1 version of Doom 2 has to make cuts, and pain elementals are around, but generally they're very rarely used in this version. So what's this room look like? So you can see this maintains the aesthetic from the PC retail release, but it does add in cold lighting into the brown sludge room, and you can still do the trick that we discussed. It's always interesting looking at how these rooms are interpreted on the PS1, because the cold lighting kind of gives more depth and sort of makes the rooms feel a bit more alive. Because one of the things with Doom 2 is that the lighting only really affects how light or dark something is. It doesn't add colour in, and sometimes it's nice to see that visual flair when you're kind of entering familiar rooms. It's a small touch, but it's one that I think would have been great in the PC version of Doom 2. That probably would have been a feature that would have actually helped differentiate it from Ultimate Doom a bit more. So this room looks completely different. This just looks like a cave or something. So we gotta go up, and we gotta go and get the blue key. So this is what I was talking about earlier. On the PC version, there isn't a connecting part there. Also, they put chain gunners in the middle here. That's a bit cheeky. And there's a revenant there. So they haven't used the mancubus on this level, but they have chosen to use a revenant, which is a bit mean, if you ask me. So they've put chain gunners in the middle there, which is very interesting. They aren't afraid to put more enemies in at points in this version, which I do appreciate. Take care of you. Take care of you. So we are going to go and get the BFG here. So this room, again, functionally the same. The concept of this room pretty much carries through all three versions of the level that we've seen. Although the dark blue here is dark blue, dark green lighting, it kind of makes this feel more like a, you know, shadowy place that you're not supposed to really come to, which I appreciate. Yes, the secret is there. Just making sure to grab as much ammo as I can. Nearly fell into the toxic sludge there, which would have been bad. So we're going to... So you see here, it's just a bony boy on this version. I actually remembered this time. The Pen Elementals really add something to this level. Like, because seeing a lot of Caco Demons on this level is a bit weird to me. So you can see this all circles back on itself. Now I do wonder... No, the Super Shotgun's not here, so it's only in the beta that the Super Shotgun makes its appearance. And again, this room is here, although much like with the rest of the level, they've actually got rid of a lot of the verticality out of this room. So you'll see as we kind of walk around, it's a lot narrower, which it doesn't affect the puzzle, but it does kind of make it look a bit less impressive. So you can see here, like it's very shallow compared to how deep the PC version was. But in essence, this is the same puzzle that we've done twice already now. Just got to make sure we take care of all the enemies. If you try running across to the supercharge over there, you will just get kicked back to the start. It's mean like that. So they took away the cell ammo there, which is interesting. For me, the cell ammo is the big reason you go over there. So another change is incoming here. You'll see a bunch of Caco Demons down here. So in the PC version, there's only 2 Pain Elementals here, but in this version, they go wild with the Caco Demons, which I kind of approve of, because this room always feels a bit empty. So I say more enemies there, to be honest. Also different textures on the walls. So without any Pen Elementals in here, we'll only have to deal with these lost souls that are already in the level. Cool, so we'll take all these down with the BFG. I think this room's a bit shallow as well. I think you can see it doesn't go quite as high as it does on the PC version. But in terms of recreating the level, it's very faithful. Like, other than like the differing heights, which obviously I assume were done for technical reasons, this is very faithfully recreating what you just get on the PC version. Oh, wow, okay, didn't expect that. Wow, okay, so those imps blocked me from running over there. And we're out of rad suit. Wow, this is chaotic. So you gotta run here. If you want to get up, if you want to actually get out of this room, you've actually got to run. The timer, I think, is it 20 or 30 seconds, this door. You have to get up here, which it's quite generous if you know where you're going. Take care of you. But overall, this is very much the pit level that you know and love. If you find yourself playing this version of the level, it's the same thing. If you love Pit on the retail release, you'll love this. If you don't, well, like me, you're probably just going to count down the time until it ends. They have made this bit a lot easier. So there's usually Mancubus in here, but they've just kind of thrown a bony boy here. So we're just getting rid of this Caco demon here. Going to shoot them down. Man, that bony boy was really waiting for me there, wasn't he? Gosh. Let's take him out here before he does. Oh, wow, he's pushed me off there as well. Just have to be a bit careful. I don't want to die at this point in the level. Otherwise, I'd have to redo the whole thing, and I don't really want to do that. But yes, no plasma rifle here. So that's the pits across 3 different versions of a level. As I've already said, not one of my favourite levels of Doom 2. I think it's a bit bloated. I think there's a bit too much going on in some of the rooms. They're all a bit too gimmicky. Okay, it hasn't crashed. Kind of thought it might have crashed there. But I know also people like this one. So if you like this one, let me know in the comments what your thoughts on it are. And yeah, which version of this level did you like? Which ones didn't you like? And thank you very much for watching.